You might be asking yourself, can you eco print yarn? Well, my answer is definitely yes. I'm just going to take you through the simple steps that I used to eco print this skein of yarn without traditional powdered mordants in the dirty pot. Now, the first thing it's really important to do is prepare your fiber correctly. And this particular fiber is Irish wool, and it's not superwash, it's just simple wool. And I have given it a good wash in warm water by hand using a gentle olive oil soap. So if you are already an eco printer, familiar with the dirty pot process, you just prepare your yarn exactly the same way as you would if you were preparing fabric to print. One tip, though, is not to agitate your yarn too much when you're washing it. You don't want the individual strands to felt together. And then once you've given it a good wash in that gentle soap, I recommend that you leave it overnight in plain water, soaking, squeeze the excess water out of it, and then you can start laying out your vegetation. So in this image here on the left, you can see that I have positioned the yarn on top of some windfall eucalyptus leaves and bark. Now I'm using these because this vegetation gives fantastic color without traditional powdered mordants, but it's important then that I weave the leaves in and out of the various strands of yarn. The next thing I do is I decide on what sort of a pipe I'm going to roll the yarn up on. And because I love darker, dramatic colors, I have chosen to use a rusty metal pipe. I made sure to add plenty of leaves and bark on the outside of the bundle under the tie marks. And once it was tied very tightly, that's rolled and tied tightly, it went into my eco printing pot. So I always like to have my dirty pot at a good boil before I put my bundles in. And this piece then was processed for approximately 2.5 hours. Here is the bundle as it looked after it came out of the pot. And you might think at this stage, gosh, what have I done? But once you start opening the bundle to reveal the magical color inside, it's just like all your birthdays have come at the one time. After the bundle has cooled down, it's time to remove the vegetation. And in this video clip on the left-hand side here, you will see me doing that very gently. It's far more time consuming removing leaves and bark from between strands of yarn than it is removing leaves from a garment or piece of felt or anything else that you have been eco printing. And it's important to go carefully at this stage and take out those pieces of vegetation very carefully. And in the image on the right, you can see what the yarn looks like before I finished shaking it out, washing it carefully, again in an olive oil soap, and drying it. And here are two views of the completed yarn. It's now been washed and dried, and I just love the golden undertones and the vibrancy of the color. It's wonderful to be able to print locally produced Irish wool using leaves from my own eucalyptus trees.